is a way of mitigating that, to create a situation of connection without constraint. And what you'll see on YouTube is tremendously deep communities. And what I mean by deep is that people are connecting by revealing parts of themselves that they refuse to reveal even to their family or to their closest friends. They're revealing parts of themselves they would not reveal otherwise.
It's amazing to me how powerful this media is. I mean, I'm sitting in my living room, talking to a camera. My God, the interaction is unbelievable.
So get you in the mood so you're like, oh, this is how it's done. It's casual. We just talk to the camera.
Put that there, see if that helps. I got to figure this thing out eventually. Just came by to say, came by, what do you mean came by? I didn't come by, I'm sitting right here.
January is a hard month for me. Right now, I should be preparing for the birth of my son next week. But I'm not, which you guys already know.
Hi, Mel. I watched your video, and sorry I'm running behind on my schedule here.
I was listening to it, and I felt my tears coming.
It's a big experiment. Getting myself out. We're all learning from each other and about ourselves. And that's what I think fucking YouTube should be about.
Thank you, guys.
So in the midst of this, a hero emerges. And I think this is one of the great early heroes of YouTube. I think it's indicative. This is actually 5 years ago today. This guy who goes by the name One Man, this sort of anonymous hero, steps out looking for a hug. You know, he's one of these millions of people who feel too anonymous, too insignificant, and too disconnected. And they're just looking for somebody to hug. So he goes out into the mall and starts to find people willing to connect with him. And this is becomes such a powerful message. It starts to spread. Other people take up the signs. And it's just like this moving thing with all these anonymous strangers connecting. And it gets a lot of play on YouTube, over 45 million hits, and then it goes global from there. And there's over 20,000 videos on YouTube related to this, and they're from all over the world. Of course, it wouldn't be YouTube without the sort of snarky little spook. So here comes the snarky little spookster. So I got one more hero for you guys, and this is another anonymous hero. He goes by the name Matt V. He wears a Guy Fawkes mask. And what he does is he tries to use his anonymity to basically become a platform for collaboration. And he creates a way in which thousands of YouTubers can actually collaborate on a single video. And in this one, he simply invites them to make a stand, to make a statement, by writing something on their hand and holding it up to their webcam. And it's pretty interesting to think about what people would hold up to their webcam. And ultimately, thousands of people do this. It becomes the most responded to video on YouTube at the time. And here they are in the most, what seems like a very private space, it's actually the most public space on the planet, holding up these messages, and this is what they say. So they send messages of loving yourself, loving others. They do it in a way that it's clear they speak a new form of language. They all speak video. They do it beautifully and artistically, and they start trying to use the platform to break down boundaries, sending out messages of unity and connection. But I think it's important to note, in light of Dana's talk yesterday, that these are not statements of fact, and it would be tragic optimism to view these as statements of fact. They wouldn't state these things if they felt like they already existed. Instead, these are not statements of fact. These are ultimately calls to action. the obvious question then to this room is what it all means in terms of this, and ultimately, how can we, the 1,000 of us or so in this room, how can we use this to conquer the narcissistic disengagement we see today in a culture sort of still ruled by trivialities? And I want to channel Neil Postman again on this to close out my talk today. Neil Postman in 1984, what he was looking back to the 1800s, he looked at the debate between Lincoln and Douglas. Throughout the 1850s, Lincoln and Douglas were having these debates, and these debates were fundamentally different than the political debates we see today. And the reason why is because each candidate had at least an hour to talk, and then the other candidate would have at least an hour to respond, and so on. And they would lay out very long and rational arguments that Postman argues only somebody who is a person of the book could really understand. Somebody sort of grounded in the logic of print could truly understand. So in comes, he was comparing this to the debates of the day. In 1984, the debates of the day where each candidate would have about 30 seconds to respond, and they ran more like political commercials, right? And so enter YouTube, and there's a number of awesome possibilities when you enter video into this politics. But what happened with the YouTube debates was basically more of the same, right? I mean, you got these really entertaining questions from people like Billy and the Snowman, and while the questions were entertaining, they were still the same basic questions. And then ultimately, the worst part of it was that each candidate still only had 30 seconds to a minute to respond. Disagreements were mentioned but never debated, so it really wasn't a real debate. In the end, I think Postman would say that we were still kind of amusing ourselves to death, but we're in a sea of amusements, and in which this, trying to compete with other amusements, was still only viewed by less than 1% of Americans. So in this regard, I think Postman would be disappointed in where we're at today. But I think if he could be in this room today, I think what he would see is that having created not interested